So we haven't even got it yet.
Okay. Other than that, are there any additions? We will call the question. All in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried. First item on the agenda, minutes and action report from the meeting of July 26th. Motion to accept
Move.
minutes is presented, moved by Councilor Stahl, seconded by Councilor Lane. Are there any errors or omissions on the minutes of July 26th? Hearing none, call the question. All in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried. Any business arising from the minutes of July 26th? Councilor Walsh?
Your Worship, just on 516, the business blitz on the Waterford River, it did take place as scheduled last Friday.
Yeah, I was gone. How'd it go?
I wasn't there, but I know members of staff were there. Brian was there himself. I think our CAO was there. We had a fairly good representation. It was a miserable day, if I recall. Of course,
Yeah.
Every day has been a miserable day. But I think a good turnout, a great effort, great initiative, good coverage by the press as well, and I think generally very, very well received. So it was great, and I just want to take the opportunity to thank the business community for coming out, the Chamber of Commerce in particular, for circulating the information on the Blitz. And of course, coming up this Saturday from 9 to noon, we have the community cleanup Blitz as well. So
That's this weekend.
Yep.
And hopefully the weather is going to be more cooperative.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you for that. Any other comments or items from business arising to be addressed now? Going once, going twice. Okay, we will move on from business arising. Go back to the agenda machine. Thank you. We're into correspondence. We have a letter from the Office of the Minister of Municipal Affairs, and this is in reference to a list of nominees for the Eastern Waste Management and Committee, which Councillor Lane is our appointee, right? You're still our appointee on that? You are not our appointee on that? What am I missing?
No, Your Worship. Apparently, I was notified that the Minister wishes to move forward, I believe, with the committee. And as I'm now a declared candidate for the party, they've asked that I withdraw, so I will be withdrawing.
Oh, I apologize. I wasn't aware yet. Now that you're a
Council
candidate,
will have to decide on who else they want to put forward.
so what we're going to have to do is appoint another committee member.
Correct.
In your place. I was not aware, Councillor. Sorry about that. This is not something that we need to do now. Michelle, you have, Ms. Peach, you have info? We'll do that in a committee meeting at some point.
Yeah, Your Worship. The only thing I would add is that I was informed that they would like it done sooner rather than later because they want to.
That was going to be my next question.
They want to move forward.
So we got to do this soon. Okay. Thank you very much. Next item is the condescending letter that we received from the Federal Minister of Fisheries in reference to the rescue subcenter in St. John's. I don't know if. Well, I think I've said it all. Anybody got anything to add to that? If not, we're going to move along to committee work. We're going to start. Our first is the Public Works Committee. Councillor Tessier, your floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just one item. A letter was presented from the 1st Battalion, the Royal Newfoundland Regiment, advising of a planned exercise called Viking Shield that's going to be held in Mount Pearl from October 7th to the 10th. And they're requesting to use the access road and land in the vicinity of the water tower at 7 Taverner Place. Now, this is for drills. I'm of the understanding drills and skill building in that area. This is their first time bringing this initiative into Mount Pearl, so we are very happily recommending approval of this request, and I so move.
It is moved, seconded by Councillor Walsh. They're not aware yet, but I'm going to get a group of citizens to dress up as St. John's terrorists. And we're going to go in and attack them and see how good they are at it.
They're actually just.
What do you think?
Well, that's not a bad idea. But now, now that we've got them in here, we'd like to keep them here.
You better be careful.
We'd like to keep them here. And just for the benefit of the public, we're going to be notifying the residents up in that general area as well themselves that they'll be undertaking these drills.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's good.
So there is going to be
a notification go out.
Yes.
Okay.
They'll notify the residents themselves.
And that's all for Public Works?
That's it.
Corporate Services, Councillor Moneyman Paul Lane.
Thank you, Your Worship. First item, committee is recommending approval to exempt 2011 business taxes in accordance with our policy for charitable organizations. for St. John Ambulance, 8 Thomas Byrne Drive. The amount is there for Council's review, and I so move.
It is moved and seconded by Councillor Tessier. Question or comment? All those in favour, contrary-minded, motion carried.
Next item, Your Worship, we're recommending Director of Corporate Services attend Chartered Accountants Public Sector and not-for-profit Financial Reporting Conference. It's being held in Ottawa from October the 5th to the 6th, and that's in accordance with our professional development policy and budget, and I so move.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Tessier. Questions? All in favour, contrary-minded, motion carried.
Next item, Your Worship, relates to the city's emergency management plan. As Council is aware, we engaged the services of a consultant some months ago to update our emergency management plan for the city, and there was a lot of good work done there. Council reviewed the plan and approved it in principle. We forwarded it then to the Department of Municipal Affairs for their review and approval. It has now come back to us from Municipal Affairs. They have approved the plan, and now we need a motion of Council to adopt said plan. So I so move.
Moved, seconded. Councillor Lane, just a question. Is the plan going to appear like on our website or anything? Is this going to be a publicly accessed plan?
Well, I believe, Your Worship, that did come up before when we had actually made the motion to forward it to Municipal Affairs. And my understanding is that there will be portions of the plan that we could certainly put there for public information.
Right.
But as it came to details about phone numbers and committee members,
Correct.
the different service
So who determines
organizations, that would not be there, but there would be parts of it that would be there for the public to
Yeah.
review.
Who's going to determine that? Who's going to clean it, for the want of a word, and redact what has to not appear?
I think Ms. Peach can answer that.
Michelle.
Who's going to be doing that?
Yeah, that'll be done in conjunction mostly with my office and with the communications department.
Okay.
And actually what we are planning is a website, a piece of the website dedicated to emergency planning that was suggested by both the consultant and by the department, and we'll be pursuing that. So
How long is that going to take before it's, let's say, up and running? Who knows? You don't know.
I don't know.
No, it's just that this is both a provincial requirement, but it's something that we've done, and we've done it fairly swiftly, and it's pretty good work. So I want it up there. I want to brag about it.
Yeah, there is.
Quite simply put.
What the main thing that's outstanding, which is okay to adopt the plan, but we want to have some meetings with some other stakeholder groups, especially in terms of other responders and some mutual aid agreements and that kind of thing. So. But that'll be in very soon, not too far away.
Great political line in due course.
I would imagine we'll be doing some sort of a tabletop exercise at some point as well in the not too distant future.
Yeah. The most immediate, the next step actually is some training that is already planned for September in basic management, basic emergency management for the people that have been assigned various roles and responsibilities in the plan. And then subsequent to that, in October, we're piggybacking on some training being done at MUN by a city official coming from Seattle, which we're trying to get in on that, and that'll be coming forward to council shortly. And that involves some tabletop type of exercise.
Okay, good.
Yeah, all that stuff we will be doing in the next year.
Okay. All right, that's good. We'll call the question. All those in favour? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
Final item, Your Worship, invoices for approval totaling $1,253,236, listed 1 through 11, and I so move.
It is moved and seconded. Any question or comment on items 1 through 11? Council, anything? Stand out to anybody other than it's just massive amounts of road work? New Line skate parks. I got to tell you, what do you think of the skate park? Right? Is it not fabulous?
Great uptake for sure.
Yeah. Too bad you can't see it. It's too bad because there's just way too many kids on it. But anyway, it's good. We'll call the question. Anybody have a comment on any of these? None? Call the question. All those in favour? Contrary-minded? Motion is carried. We're up to engineering services in the absence of Councillor Aker. Councillor Stoyles?
Speaking
Councillor Walsh, you are alternate here.
speaking of skateboard park, this is a change order.
Yep.
It was a drainage pipe had to be put in, and the overrun cost is $2,416.70, and I so move.
It is moved by Councillor Stoyle, seconded by Councillor Walsh. All those in favour? Contrary minded, motion carried.
Thank you.
That's all there is
That's it.
for that? No, there's the development list.
The development list is there as presented.
Move the development list. All those in favour?
Just a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councillor.
One of these, the last of these items is a home-based business for fuel delivery. I'm assuming. Sorry, I didn't have this mic turned on, Gail. My apologies. I'm assuming that this is not associated with any kind of parking of a vehicle.
No, this is
It's
an office.
strictly an office only, is it?
I'm assuming this is
Anyone
strictly an
recall
office.
Where this is I mean, we don't allow the vehicle to be
No.
parked on the site, so I'm assuming this is a telephone
Yeah.
office,
Yeah.
receiving dispatch only.
Yeah.
And is it says 59A survey, is this a rental, somebody
Wouldn't be
rent?
an apartment.
Is somebody do they own the house and using that as just a business?
I
again?
wouldn't have a clue.
I'm just
I
wondering.
wouldn't have a
if-
clue. I mean,
if-
obviously,
Well, my concern is.
I only go on the basis of the fact the list is a list of already prior approved permits that have gone out,
All right.
and we're formally adopting them.
Well, my
So I don't
concern-
know about the particulars.
My concern is if it's an apartment and somebody's renting an apartment and they got a home-based business, would the owner be aware that they run the business out the home?
Question.
I'm just wondering, because if they were doing that and the owner realised that, I mean, I'm just curious, just asking the question.
We'll try and
I'd
get
like
you.
to have it checked out.
We'll try and get you an answer, because I agree with you. I think it's a good question. But in the meantime, we moved the development permit list. They've got a permit, yeah.
But still, I'd like to have the answer to that
Yeah,
question.
yeah, it's a good question. All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried. Are you doing the building construction residential as well? Or is that you? That's planning. Oh, we've got to go to a separate section,
Yeah, that's why it's.
guys, to get to the planning committee report.
That's why the chair of planning didn't respond to the question.
We couldn't download it.
And it was put in 5 hours ago. Okay, I have it in front of me.
All right, I'm going to get mine as well.
I'm assuming item 1 is the Waterford River cleanup.
There you go. Yep.
There you go. Deputy Mayor, floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. A couple of these have been spoken to already. The first one here, Councillor Walsh made reference to about the two cleanups that we're having. One is a residential cleanup, the other one is a business cleanup. The one, of course, as Councillor Walsh mentioned.
I was pulling the Councillor Aker out.
Well, you know, Councillor Walsh, you did it. Councillor Stoles did it. I may just sit down, right? Anyways, he summarised it beautifully, I might add, and just some points here that I think in the 2-hour time period, Your Worship, they collected 100 bags of garbage,
Yeah.
which is both good and alarming.
Yes.
I mean, the fact that there's that much stuff that they can remove from the riverbanks, and where they actually did this along Clyde Avenue, I think it was, in the industrial park, that many of the people, volunteers, didn't realise that the river was actually running there. It wasn't until they got down. Yeah, it wasn't until they got down and actually saw it. They pulled some items out, and again, it was a huge success. Visually afterwards, you notice that the cleanup had taken place. There were probably 30 participants that were involved with this, and Councillor Walsh also extended thanks to all their volunteers, but also our corporate sponsors, CIBC and Tim Hortons, were on board for this.
Wonderful.
And they will also be on board for this Saturday. Now we're having part 2 of our Waterford cleanup, which will be the residential cleanup blitz, and that will take place from 9 to 12. Folks can come here and register at City Hall. Starting at 9, they'll be giving out gloves and bags. We're going to do the section from Commonwealth Avenue down there by Pipers, eastward over to Orchard Avenue. That's the area that we're going to concentrate on, and hopefully this will be an annual thing. And it's a part of the Green Team initiative that we've had. We've had 4 people in place since July the 4th. And it's certainly brought awareness to the mess of the riverbanks and what people throw in there, but also the beauty of this. So we're hoping this is going to be an annual event where we'll have some stewards both in our industrial business parks, realizing that taking care of their own properties, and that will prevent stuff from ending up in the Waterford River.
Great coverage in the Telegram with picture, good
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good. It was good.
and I think
I can't believe
NTV
why,
News also
why,
covered it.
why would someone put a rebounder, a trampoline,
Yeah.
in the river?
Well,
I mean, seriously.
who knows? Who knows how it got there?
How does that stuff end up in the river? You know,
Yeah.
just ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's the whole purpose of this, to bring the attention to that, because it is a viable river. And I was interviewed this morning and dealing with this, and I made the comment that I think they reintroduced salmon into this river some years back, because I was out bike riding one day a couple of years back, and there was a young guy down at Twin Falls, and he pulled in a 2-pound salmon in that pool down there. So I mean, it's obviously a healthy ecosystem, and we got brown trout and wetlands all along the way. So, anyways, I just wanted to bring that to the attention, and again encourage people to come out to
The more
the
we can do of that, the better.
residential cleanup. Okay. The next item here, Your Worship, is a notice of motion in accordance with Section 39 of the City of Mount Pearl Act, 1988. Take notice that in accordance with Council's public notification policy, I will, at a regular meeting of Council, move an amendment to the Mount Pearl Development Regulations 1988 that, if enacted, will amend Schedule C, the Industrial Light Use Zone table, as follows. Add convenience store to the list of permitted uses. And the purpose of this proposed amendment is to provide Council with the authority to consider convenience store uses within this land use zone.
For the light industrial use zone.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I know I'm looking pensive about it, but it just seems unusual.
Well, can we speak to the notice of motion now?
I guess not. No, I mean, we'll do it at the time. It's just
We'll do it.
unusual to
Yes.
do it, why not? We allow daycare centers there. I thought that was unusual, but you realize how much sense they make.
Right.
So, that. Okay, you have the other items?
We'll speak to it later, yes? This one here is the paper.
None of us has them, right?
Okay,
So.
this didn't get around because I think our
That's
copier.
what I'm saying, none of us got the items you're going to speak to. So
I have the original here, I think.
How can we vote on it? We haven't even seen them yet. So we,
Because she's going to explain it.
I'm going to explain it to you right
yeah,
now.
that's fine.
Okay?
Listen, we have to forgive this kind of old-fashioned technology.
No,
Paper.
I just want to say we don't have any.
We don't use this technology.
You know what? I'm actually feeling guilty, Your Worship, holding this right here right now. It's like it's burning my fingertips.
There you go.
I can't remember the last time I held a piece of paper.
Now, is this just one item we're dealing with, or
This
several?
is just one item here.
One item.
Okay?
And is this the dental piece?
It has to do with the Municipal Plan Amendment number 90, 2011, and Development Regulations Amendment number 210, 2011.
Right.
And it involves 291 Old Placentia Road. Okay, as per the requirements of the Urban and Rural Planning Act 2000, the City of Mount Pearl submitted the documentation pertaining to changing our municipal plan and our development regulations dealing with this property on Old Placentia Road, which, as we know, was a former place of worship. And we're now looking at amending it to allow office buildings amendments there. We did have a briefing session where the proponent came forth, and we had some folks in the area came forth and brought some concerns with them. They were discussed, and they seemed to be resolved at the end of the meeting. So as a result, we're proceeding with this and a public hearing to consider objections and representations on these amendments, the second part of our public consultation, if you will. Will be held on Tuesday, 7 p.m. on Wednesday, the 31st day of August. The purpose of the proposed amendment is to provide Council with the authority to consider a medical and professional use at 291 Old Placentia Road, and to clarify the designation and the zoning boundaries to correspond with the property ownership in the area. So, this is what we're recommending, Your Worship, that we adopt the Plan Amendment number 90, 2011,
Yes.
and our Regulations Amendment number 210, 2011,
Yeah.
be adopted subject to the provincial release from the Department of Municipal Affairs. We haven't received that yet, but we're anticipating that.
And what's that release again? What is the release?
That we can proceed with the municipal
Because
plan amendment.
this zone is locked in, or is this a standard piece?
I just thought it had to be released from the department.
The zone it's in.
Yeah. Can you speak to that, Ms. Beach, or am I correct on that? Mr. Yevchek is not here to speak to that.
My understanding is as you described it.
Yes.
Because I thought we could just rezone if we wanted to.
We got to get release from the province for the rezoning, for the municipal plan.
Yeah.
Zoning has to be approved
By the province.
because of the regional plan.
Right. That's what we're waiting on.
So
Okay.
this is all
Done
falls
under
under urban and
planning
rural
and
planning.
planning.
Right.
Rural planning.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So we want to proceed today because we're expecting that release, but
Yeah.
we want to then set our public hearing date.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd have to wait for our next public meeting, which
So
is
we're
2
doing
weeks
that in
away,
advance as well.
which will set everything back.
Okay.
So the second recommendation is that the public hearing date be set for Wednesday, August 31st at 7 p.m. here at City Hall.
Okay.
And the third one is that the Planning and Land Use Development Committee determine a commissioner for the public hearing at their next scheduled meeting.
Okay.
And I so move.
Moved and seconded by Councillor, who's with you on planning these days? That's
Councillor
you, is it?
Yes.
Oh, because Mr. Akers not here, that's what's
Right.
confusing me. Councillor Tessier, any question or comment on this? All those, nothing? No. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion's carried.
And Your Worship, I just got to get back to the...
Can we get the date, Deputy Mayor, maybe we make sure that we have the date of the commission hearing sent out, tomorrow. Or
Absolutely.
We want to add it to our calendar.
Sure.
That's in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And will everybody who went to the public meeting, will they also be notified about the date of the hearing?
I think that was discussed.
I think that's automatic.
I think it will be,
Yeah, I
Okay.
believe that's automatic.
So we'll get that sent out.
All right, progress made.
Now let me just get back to... There we go. I only have one item left because Councillor Stoyles did the development permit list. And what's left here now is the building construction permits
Okay,
for the date of July 24th to August the 5th, 2011. And during this time period, residential construction totaled $101,950. Commercial construction during the same time period was $1,500, bringing the total for this time period, where are we? Total for the period, I can't find it here. Let's add $101,500. $103,450, and I move that the amount be accepted as presented.
it is moved and seconded. Call the question. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
And that is it for me, Your Worship.
That concludes that. I'm sneaking back into the minutes here now to go to new business, find out where we started last time. Does anybody remember?
I think I started with Councillor Aker.
We started on my right, did we? New business, no. Councillor Stoyles, actually.
I started.
Yeah, you were the first one.
No one said
So
over.
we're going to go, and this was about the work ongoing at the rear of United Rentals, actually. So we'll start with Councillor Tessier today. Councillor?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of things. On Monday past, not yesterday, oh no, certainly that's yesterday. Last Monday, I attended the Arts in the Park series that the Association for the Arts in Mount Pearl are having. And I must say, I didn't get to last night's, but it was a really lovely event. They had crafts set up there for children. They had entertainment. When I got there, there was some city staff there with their children as well, and it was just lovely. And I hope that this idea really takes off, and I hope that the weather really starts to agree with it a little bit. Because I think if people are out and about,
Any worse?
but it's a funny thing, when you were walking up to it and you could hear the music playing, it was attractive, right? Like it made you want to go up and see what was going on. And we have such a nice area there now with the picnic tables and the green space in the middle for the children to run around on. It was just lovely, but we really need the weather to start agreeing with that. But I wanted to commend the Association for the Arts for doing something like this, because it does certainly add a lot to it. I'm not sure. I missed the last council meeting, and I'm not sure if this was addressed or not. But I wanted to highlight the Mount Carson realignment. I have the opportunity of driving it fairly regularly, and I have to say what a tremendous difference it is making to that road network up there. It's still under construction, and we're still dealing with, you might have some delays, but I've got to say the difference now driving up there is remarkable, quite frankly.
Yeah.
It
I'm
really is.
hearing some concerns from some residents at Masonic about the entrance to the park and the turn. But we were putting in sidewalk and that there and painting and whatnot that I felt would clarify it. So I haven't looked at it in the week. I've been gone for the week, so I haven't looked at it.
And that could also be, I think, in fairness, that could also be just getting used to the change.
Yeah, that
It could
too.
be getting used
that
to the
too.
change.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned.
It's good though. I'm liking it.
Yeah,
I'm
me
just
too.
concerned about the stop, going down Wyatt with the stop sign, and that I drove it today actually, and I think it's a great job and everything, but I think we need to have a sign further back, because they're used to going right straight down and not having the little turn and the stop sign. And normally when a new light goes up or something new in an area, there's a little bit more warning to give them, especially when they're so used to just going right
Going
down.
right straight through, yeah.
Right through. I think we should put some kind of a temporary sign up there to let people know.
Well, can't we put our traffic
Well,
watch
well,
machine?
we had that up there, but I think
Well, that's pretty good.
That's the only concern. Like I spoke to this one lady on Wyatt yesterday morning, and she said, I was away on holidays, I came back, I knew it was happening, but I left to go to work, and
Well, we'll leave it
yeah.
with Public Works and
But
Mr. Lush.
the other
This
question,
group can look at
yeah,
it.
the other question I had, or thing, I guess Granger Road.
We're still now on your new business.
Yes,
I'm not
yes.
forgetting you here.
Oh, no. The other question now
But
was,
you brought it up.
while she's on this one, I'm wondering, is Granger Road is no more now, right? Granger Road is gone.
Granger
and-
Road is gone.
They
and-
have blocked that off
But
already.
my question is there going
Where?
to be,
Under the plan, under the.
it's going to be back there again, right?
Comprehensive development plan, wasn't that going to be a cul-de-sac there?
Well,
There's going to be a cul-de-sac there, and it's going to be,
Depends-
is it going to be
depends-
called Granger Road? That's my question. Is it
You
going to
look,
be called
Councilor
Granger
Tessier
Road?
looks like she knows something, do
Well, I
you?
don't know anything, actually. I think that would depend on, I think that would depend,
You're the one big enough to admit it.
yeah, no. Would that not depend on the property owner and what they foresee as what they'd like to put in that particular area?
Yeah,
'Cause I
well, we
think
get to
did
name
some
'em.
land
We get to
swapping.
name 'em.
Yeah, we did some land swapping, I
Yeah.
think, and I think that depends on the property owner and what
Okay.
they want to do and what they bring forward to council is their vision
Yeah.
for that area.
I was asked.
Yeah, the name has got to come back.
Road is gone.
The name has got to come back.
Road
Yeah.
has a significance, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Oh,
It
yes.
does.
Maybe it can be Grangeville
It does.
Place.
Yeah.
Why don't we cross that bridge when we come to it?
Maybe it'll be the bridge. We'll call it
Maybe
Bridge.
it'll be a bridge.
It's good to have it on the agenda.
Maybe it'll be a
so
bridge.
it's not lost.
Oh, yes. it
Next
won't-
item. Next item.
Well, so again, so that's that. I'm
Yeah,
really pleased with that.
we're all happy with
The
that.
next item, the skate park. Boy, I got to tell you, it's really exciting that's open, and I'm not going to steal your thunder on this, Councillor Walsh, because I'm sure you're going to want to speak to it. However, I do have a question because I had brought it up before. Are helmets mandatory at this skate park for a certain age group and under, and is that posted? Now, I know that it would be very, very hard to enforce that, but I think it's important that we have that message there. I haven't been down there since it finished, but I want to make sure that for a certain age group and under, as it is done in many skate parks, many public skate parks, there is a sign postage that says
Yeah.
helmets are mandatory.
Signage says helmets are recommended. That's all the signage says, is for no particular age group. We recommend it for all age groups.
It's recommended or it's required?
Recommended.
Can
That's
we-
what
can
the present signage says.
Is it possible for us to say that helmets are required?
Well, what we can do,
What I'm going to, if I'm going to recommend it, I'm back to how are we going to enforce it?
I understand that,
Well,
but I think
I'm assuming we had a bylaw. Councillor Walsh?
this would be a community services issue anyway, I think, and it's similar to what we do with the arenas.
Yeah.
If you recall, we implemented helmet use for the arenas.
12 and under.
I was.
12.
It's under
12.
16 years of age, yeah.
Is
But
it 16? I thought it was 12.
I thought it was 16, but I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
Anyway, whatever it is, that didn't really end up being nearly as contentious an issue when it was implemented. Whether it was 12 or 16, I don't really recall. Although I did a full CPC hour program on it one time, I can't remember. Yeah.
And a good job you did, and now you don't remember.
I listen every minute.
Yeah. Anyway, what we'll do is, I think maybe the best thing to do, because I think it's a good point. One of the things that I was encouraged to see yesterday when I was there, and I was down talking to the kids yesterday for about 20 minutes. I know Deputy Mayor Locke was there today because we had the chat just prior to the start of the meeting. I was really impressed by the fact that there were a lot of parents there. There were a lot of parents around the site. There were a lot of grandparents even around the site. And then there were some parents sitting in their cars on the parking lot watching the kids use the skate park. I guess it's, just becoming a little more familiar with it. But I tell you, I was, as you say, I was overwhelmed with the amount of use. But I want to just go back quickly to the helmet thing, because then I'll step aside. We'll bring it back to committee, have a look at it, have a discussion with it. Yesterday, unfortunately, I'd say less than 5%. I saw a couple of helmets only, but most people did not have helmets on
Yeah,
yesterday.
that's a concern, I
At
think.
any age, and
I think that's a
it might be
real
a little
concern.
bit of a concern.
well,
Okay, Councillor Tessier?
I'll tell you further to that. Just one last point on that. If the children go to the indoor skate facility, for example, turn down, that's in St. John's. If the children go to that, it is a policy. So they expect that. It's not that this would be a big surprise for anybody. Children expect that, because they have to adhere to it in other places.
They got to wear a helmet.
That helmet
There are
use.
liability issues.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That
and anyway, I think we should explore it. I believe anybody on it, I have a problem with the age thing. I think if you're on it,
Well,
you wear a helmet.
I agree.
Yeah.
Can I?
But anyway, you want to add something
Just-
as well, Deputy
good.
Mayor?
I did speak to Mr. Chimarni on this. A resident contacted me there probably a couple of weeks back now, and she's affiliated with the Brain Injury Association.
Yes.
Yes.
And I said to Mr. Chimarni and pass it on to Councillor Walsh as well. I think if we're going to have a grand opening for the skate park, which I think it'll be a nice thing to do, a formal opening, that we could partner with this lady, because I know she's received a grant, a pretty substantial grant, and she has a number of helmets that she's willing to provide to children who can't afford it. So I thought it might be nice to sort of join the two, get some press there.
That's a good idea.
And then we could promote the importance of helmets. And she said she has some demonstrations with, I think, watermelons or some content to show how these helmets actually protect
How important
the
it is.
skull.
Yeah.
So I think if we did that in conjunction with the grand opening or the official opening of it, because you're going to have hundreds of kids around there, they'll be there to witness the result of that. So I just wanted to bring that.
That's a
bring
good
that
idea.
up.
Thank you for
and
that.
again, we can bring that to
Councillor Stoyan.
I was going to
services.
say that's Janet Holman Price, and she's
Oh, it's Janet.
she's
Okay.
she's the vice president of the Brain Injuries Association of Canada, and
Yeah, I'm familiar with the lady.
Apparently, a company bought 1,000 helmets to give out to children. I'm saying 1,000, it might be 500. I had lunch with her just a couple of weeks ago on another issue, and she was saying that they have all these helmets to give out to children, and they would like to have events around the community to give them out.
The perfect time.
Well-
Councillor Tessier, you're still on new
Yeah,
business. You've got a
further-
bigger agenda than the whole
honest
meeting.
Honest to God. Further to that, if we have somebody coming to do a demonstration, and I believe that the children might have some expectation that we're going to have a rider. Apparently, one of the gentlemen that helped to build it is a semi-pro or a pro rider. Anyway, if we do that, I would certainly recommend that if anybody's doing a demonstration, that they are wearing their helmet as well, as a good example for the children. And also, to that effect, maybe we as a city might look at encouraging it. I know that with helmet use, especially in skate parks, kids like stickers, like they put these decals on their helmets. If we have something from the city that they could use as well. No, it's just a little plastic nothing. They sell them at Turn Down as well, but something like that. Anyway, I just think it's really important that we certainly very strongly encourage helmet use in our new skate park, because I'm really thrilled to have it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And one last item. We were talking about the cleanup, and I had the pleasure of sitting in on planning yesterday, and we were talking about that cleanup, and I was really alarmed at 100 bags of garbage in 2 hours along those two sections of river.
Very small section.
Yeah, I was alarmed. That's a lot of garbage, and especially when you're looking at little bits and pieces, it's just amazing. But then there are large items, and I know in the river behind my house this summer, there was a double mattress in the water. I think with initiatives like this, you're creating an awareness and an ownership. If people are going out, if businesses are going out to clean up, they're almost going to act like a watchdog, I would think, if this is going to be something that's going to continue on into the future, and I hope that it is. So I really commend this cleanup and the actions thereof, and I hope that it does serve to kind of create that kind of neighborhood watch again for us, because that is an incredible amount of garbage. I was really surprised by it, and I'm sure that if that's in those two sections, we're going to find a whole lot more down along the way.
Excellent. Thank you. Councillor Lane.
Sure, Your Worship, I got about 20 items there. So we'll start off with 1A subsection B. Question for Mr. Lush. Surprise. No, I'm wondering about the line painting. I know where we did Ruth Avenue, and there's lines painted now on Ruth Avenue, but we used to have there, and I know school hasn't started yet, but we had in big bold letters on that road, school zone, coming in every direction, and that has not been replaced. So I don't know if they forgot to do it, or you're planning on doing it later, or what the situation is. But if it was forgotten, I'd like to have that painted on the road again. You can answer if you like.
No,
or
they're not finished painting, but
Just
it'll
not
go back.
finished
It's just not finished.
Yeah.
Also,
Okay.
if they are planning on doing this. Are they?
Got probably about 15-20% more on
Tell the
painting
truth, you
yet to
forgot
do.
about doing this.
Okay, no,
Okay.
never forget. Never forget. You know that.
No, I won't let you forget.
Fine, you got me, he said.
Breakfast, I
Yeah.
forgot, but not that.
No, and that's the only other thing I had was I'm pretty disappointed that wrestling has come to the Glacier and Hulk Hogan isn't going to make it. So I'm pretty disappointed. I'm a Hulkamaniac. I'm pretty disappointed about that. But
Councillor,
apparently he is going to Grand Falls and Bourneville.
Councillor, you look good in a pair of like bright
Oh, absolutely.
spandex.
Yeah, he's not, Hulk Hogan's not gonna get here, hey?
Yeah, the Hulkster's
That is-
Mount Pearl.
That is,
Are you making a guest appearance as the NP Friendly Giant? Or?
Can you take his place now?
Deputy Mayor, save us.
I just have one item and a question for Mr. Lush as well, dealing with the intersection up there at Smallwood Drive, Old Placentia, where they're putting in the islands, which look great. It's going to be a great addition. The number of compliments I get on the new islands we've put in and these bowls with the flowers, I mean, the residents really enjoy those. I brought this up a couple of times last year when we were talking about the realignment of this, and again, because a couple of residents brought it up as well, that the two turning lanes, if you're on Old Placentia and you either want to turn left to head down to Smallwood or you want to turn left to head up to the Reed Centre, the two lanes are directly in front of each other, and you see a lot of people, they miss the arrow, their light is green and they're edging out, but the way it's aligned, you can't see the oncoming traffic, so it's risky business every time you do that. And I've seen dozens of near misses. And I asked the question some months back, when we were doing that intersection, could we somehow stagger those two lanes of traffic so that both drivers in the turning lane would have a better sight line of the oncoming
lane.
traffic?
I've experienced it 1,000 times. You
Right.
do end up inching out because you can't see
Exactly.
what's coming up.
And
Yeah.
that was
I don't know if
raised.
paint will solve that though.
And I would suggest that we took a piece off the, what do you call them, the boulevards or the islands there. If you had cut that back 25 or 30 feet, could you somehow align that? Anyways, I throw that out there as a question because it's still a concern with
Yeah.
people edging out.
Yeah.
The consultant took a look at it, and it would be tremendous cost to do what you suggested, or to look at it that way. So what they've come back is the lights are being redone, so there's a different configuration in the lights, and the heads are a little different. And the old intersection didn't have loop detection, so that was a small cost to try to correct the problem, to improve it. So if that doesn't improve the situation, then we'll look at going with more lanes.
So when you say loop protection, does that mean that the arrow would be a little longer? Is it?
Well, the arrow will be timed out to count traffic better, so know how long to keep the arrow up. Before it was all run on timers. Now there's a whole bunch of loop detection systems in place, and it's a intelligent controller, so it's helped. So you won't have to poke your nose out. There'll be better timing to make the actual left
Okay.
turn.
All right.
So that was, I'm not going to say the least expensive approach. If it doesn't work, it's still not going to impact the cost of what was done there. It just needs
Okay.
to line where you are.
Sure. Okay.
Thank
That's
you.
it for me, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stoyles.
But that's fine. I have a couple of things. First thing, and Stefan is not here today, and this is basically for him, see if he could give me any information on it, is the hedge on the corner of Churchill Avenue. We're waiting for the appeal board to meet and make a decision. And I know, I drive that way I'm saying every day, just about every day, and I had a near miss there myself just about a week ago, and I've spoken to a number of residents, and they are so frustrated. Like, the decision was made in council for the hedge to be removed, and it's on city-owned property, and the gentleman has the right to an appeal, which he's waiting for his appeal. I have great concern that we still don't have the date set for that appeal because, the province haven't set that appeal, and the hedge has grown out of control this year more than ever before, and it's just so frustrating. I mean, we look at anything you're doing in the city, and sometimes it's a slow process, but this is unbelievably slow, and it's at the point now that you know, you see somebody's number come on your phone, you don't want to answer it because you got no answers for them. And it's so frustrating that we got to wait this long. I mean, I can't believe that we can't, as a city staff, we put barricades on Topsail Road a number of years ago and closed down a business. I can't believe that we can't have city staff go up and cut that hedge back. It's bloody ridiculous. It's shocking that people got to live in that area in dangerous conditions. And it is dangerous. I almost got creamed there myself, and they've been telling me for the past 10 years. And we fought and finally got them that I thought that we had won the battle and the hedge was going to be removed. And if the gentleman in question had looked after his hedge and trimmed it, it wouldn't be a problem at all, and it would be a safe neighbourhood for the residents. I'm so fed up and frustrated with it that I had to bring it up today because it is outrageous that we can't do anything. I brought it up in the committee of the whole just about every meeting for the past 3 months, and I can't believe that we can't do something. So I'm saying it again in public, and I'm saying to the residents, we've tried, and we're waiting for the government to do it, but I still think that we can get the hedge cut back. And when we come back here in 2 weeks' time, I'm hoping something is going to be done. That's one thing.
Your Worship, can I just ask a
Councillor,
question?
thank you. Councillor Lane.
Yeah, just a question on that. I was of the understanding, and I mean, I know there was an appeal in terms of that gentleman's property, the part of the hedge that he actually owned, but I was of the impression, to be honest with you, that the part that was on the city-owned property, that I thought at last week's meeting or something, we just told staff to cut it, and I thought...
No, it's not done.
I thought we were going to cut it. I thought it was done.
What
to be honest
happened?
with you.
Additional information. Councillor Walsh?
Well, I think my recollection of the last meeting was we were going to do that. We were going to ask staff to cover it. I think Mr. Philpott came back and said, look, our staff are not really great at that. We'd like to see someone like Russell's cut it back, but I thought the decision was made to have it cut back at least a part on our land.
Can we follow up on it, Mr. Lush, and find out what's become of it? Does it go to you or to Ms. Peach? You've got information?
Yeah, I'll just clarify. What we actually did last meeting is we said we would have one more go at asking the property owner to cut it back himself because we hadn't actually, we had formally asked that and we ended up in an appeal and that kind of thing to have it removed. But given the time period it's going to take, and we noticed that he was doing something else up there, obviously removing some trees and whatnot, and he seemed to have somebody up there doing some work in his area, so we asked him to cut back that hedge. I'll follow up on that. I don't know. I know that was about 2 weeks ago. That was after last meeting. That letter was issued. So we'll follow up tomorrow, and if he hasn't responded or
Your Worship, just one more point here for the record, I guess, based on that situation. I would recommend then that as a council, rather than be into this in another 2 weeks, that he's been given 2 weeks or whatever he's been given. If it's not done, then I would like for council, in support of what Councillor Stoyles is saying, I agree with her 100%, that we just simply go and do it. We don't need to come back here again and talk about it anymore. If he doesn't do it, we do it, and it's done.
I think we should have
Is
already
that in
had it
order?
done.
We can do that?
I think we should have already had it done.
I agree.
I believe we need a motion, do we not?
Well, I make that
Well,
motion.
I'll make it or second it, or if you want
Hold
to
on
make
a
it.
second. Michelle?
there's also an issue. There's only a part of that hedge that's on our property.
Right, that's the part we're
A
talking
good
about.
portion of it is on private property, and there's issues around going on somebody's private property to cut that back. So our own piece we can do something with.
I'm suggesting our piece. That if
The piece of the hedge that
it's not
exists
done,
on
we
city
do it.
land, that address is to be removed within the next 2 weeks. It has been moved, I'm going to say by Councillor Stoyles, it has been seconded by Councillor Lane. Anybody wishes to comment on it?
I understand the frustration that Councillor Stoyles issued here, because I have relatives living on that particular street, using that intersection many times. But the issue is that most of the hedge, as Ms. Peach has indicated, is on this property owner's property. So it makes no sense to me if the hedge is 6 feet high and we got to go in and take 6 inches off the front of the hedge. It's not going to solve the problem. All you're going to do is
No,
instead of having a I don't think we can go in and cut down his hedge.
No, we can't.
No.
No, ours.
So,
But
yeah,
the
but the,
council approved that the hedge was coming out. We already made a motion.
and
for
he
this
appealed
council,
it.
And he appealed
But he
it.
appealed it. So we're waiting for the due process. So it makes no sense to me if the hedge is, and in some cases the hedge is probably 4 or 5 feet thick. Well, if we only own the outer foot, and we send our staff in to cut 1 foot off of it, you're still going to have a visual obstruction. It makes no sense.
We were removing our piece completely. weren't
But
we?
even if you remove our piece completely, you're still going to have 3 feet of hedge that you're not going to be able to see around or see through. So I don't agree with us going in and taking out part of the hedge. We got to lower it. I mean, that's the point here. But we're waiting on the appeal
Yeah,
board.
and I have no problem waiting for the man to have his appeal. My request more so to council is that he should be forced, or we should go in on his land if we have to, and trim it until his appeal happens. He mightn't have his appeal. We don't know when it's going to be. I mean, this is since last summer we've been waiting for this. Like, I can't believe we can't go in and trim
Do we
it
have
and
the
it
authority?
safe.
The question is, do we as the council, do we hold the authority because that hedge constitutes a public danger? I mean, we have the authority to go down and tear down a building, for God's sake, if it's not. So can't we just hire our whomever, you said Russell's, and go in and trim that damn hedge?
Sure we should.
Because it's a clear and present danger. Not take it out. We've asked them to remove it completely. That's what the appeal is about. Can't we go and get that thing cut down to 3.5 feet or
That's
whatever?
what I'm saying.
Ourselves, and
And
let him take us to court.
And if he wins his appeal, my argument is, if he wins his appeal and he's allowed to keep the hedge there, because the way
Well, it'll grow back.
where the hedge is going to keep growing back. As far as I'm concerned, if he's willing, if the powers to be will allow him to keep the hedge there, then he has to be trimming it on a weekly or monthly basis. It's ridiculous that people got to live in that area and be unsafe.
That closes debate. We're calling the question on this. All those in favor? Contrary?
I need clarification on what we're voting.
Cut back our portion of the shed, of
To
the...
trim the hedge,
No, to trim it all.
to trim it all.
Yeah.
Well,
That wasn't the original motion.
Point of information or clarification, that was not the motion I seconded.
Okay.
Not that I would necessarily be against it, but the motion was that...
To trim our section.
Was that we were going to, remove our section.
Remove our
That's
section.
what we said we were going to do originally.
That's correct. The motion is to remove it. We're
Now
gonna,
we've gone into a different thing altogether. No.
Clarification on this. Again, to remove our portion of the hedge?
yes,
That's
yeah.
the question?
The motion is that the city of Mount Pearl is going to remove its portion of the hedge that sits on city land. That's the motion, right?
Can we do that?
Motion that I made.
Technical question about it. Can we do that without going in on the property owner's land? Because I
Sure.
question if we're allowed to go in on their land.
We can do that on the
Street
outside.
side, you cut it what's on your property.
Yeah,
From the street.
we can do that from the street side.
Is there any legal reason why we can't do that? As far as the appeal is concerned.
From a practical point of view, yes, you can't, you'll have to get someone to get with a legal survey to figure out where the cut line's gonna be. From a practical point of view, you can't do that in a hedge. You either gotta go cut it all down or cut none of it down, but I
That's,
can't say that's 6 inches, I gotta go get a legal survey, and if I cut a little bit over, no, I can't do it.
What
I
a
get-
silly, what a
no,
silly.
but look, well, I want to make sure that we don't circumvent the appeal process, or that we don't create a bigger problem as a result of this. But again, I'm not sure, we've already done this once. Do we actually need a second motion on this? We've done this once. He has appealed the decision. So the question is, do we need a
But
second
the motion you're dealing with now doesn't address him.
The real issue here is not even the hedge, it's not the process. The real issue here is that we have been dragged, let's be honest, we've been at this since last summer. This is our fault. We've been dragging our heels on this. We should have had a definitive decision made, an opportunity for appeal. The appeal heard, this should have been done.
Yeah.
We were dealing with it a year ago as councillor. The only reason I'd support it, because I think Councillor Stolz is right. We have really lagged and on this issue.
On getting this
This
solved.
is a simple safety issue on a corner, and I think it's a little embarrassing that we can't deal with that silly hedge, and yet we can deal with much bigger and greater and more important matters. I understand the practicality that Mr. Lush raises. You know, you're putting staff in a pretty difficult position to go in and say definitively. As a matter of fact, the growth of the hedge might actually be on private property, but these hedges come out and they end up being obviously very bush-like. So it's just frustrating for me. If we can send crews in to cut it back, I'd support it only because I think it's time to send a message to the homeowner, do something with this hedge, it's a danger. And secondly, and more importantly, in my view, a message to the people who live in the area who use it and say, your council at least are willing to do something to take some action.
All right, that being the case, the motion that sits at the table right now, just to keep everything clear, is that we would remove the portion of the hedge which sits on city land. That is not going to be an effective motion because, as Mr. Lush points out, it is not practical. So I'm going to entertain an amendment to the motion, that we would amend the motion to say that what we're going to do, given that there is a clear and present danger for all traffic movement in that area, we're going to go in and trim the entire damn hedge, all of it, down. We're not going to kill it, because if he wins his appeal, then he can grow it. But
I will make that amendment.
should we not at least do that in the next?
That's what I was recommending. That's what I was recommending.
The amendment has been now moved by.
Haircut, you can't put it back.
Yeah, you can put it back. The amendment is going to be moved by Councillor Lane, seconded by Councillor Stolz. Now, on the amendment, Ms. Peach. Procedurally, this is very interesting.
What I was going to suggest, I understand the desire to do something very, very soon. But what I was going to suggest was, since I don't have the order in front of me right now, I would like to reread the order to see what it is we ordered and what the recourse is. But also, I don't believe we've ever considered this particular problem in relation to any violation to our fence regulations or our tree. We have tree regulations that I'm reading now that says you can't have trees and shrubs that interfere with safety and those kinds of things. So we could actually, an order is a very different thing. We've done that. But I mean, we can actually issue, I believe, violation notice to the property owner, and we can do that every day. Right? Yeah, we can do that every day until it's done. So I was going to suggest, why don't you let us explore it further tomorrow?
Because it's going to be another 2
done.
weeks, and you will have explored it further, and we won't have done anything.
I'm not willing to wait any longer.
No.
I'm sorry, but
If we
you're
go
bureaucrats.
with
You love to explore things
violations,
further.
we don't need. We have the authority to issue those violation notices now. We don't need council. Council doesn't need to approve that. Staff
Sorry,
can
say
do
that again?
The staff can issue violation notices. So
Right.
we don't need to come back to council, so we could do that tomorrow.
I think that's essentially a fair compromise right
Well,
now.
there's a motion on the floor.
We have a motion on the floor, but based on that information, we could defer it. We can hold off on it.
No, I'm not willing to hold off on it. My motion.
If we have assurances from staff that if it's indeed in violation and that the violation notice can be issued tomorrow, I'd be willing to wait.
Or that this is dealt with before the end of the week, the end of this week. I'll deal with it.
Put it in the minutes. I'm sorry?
Yes, sure.
It's our tree regulations, and they say, I think this is where we might, and this is not where the order was given, by the way. It says, the owner of any tree overhanging public land that is extending beyond the street line shall prune the branches, so there's no obstruction or hazard to vehicular or pedestrian traffic using the street. And that council may trim, transplant, remove any trees grown on public land without notice to the owner or occupant of the adjoining land. And earlier there's some discussion around trees and shrubs and all that kind of thing that it takes in.
Private land. We're talking on private land.
So you're
Yeah,
not
but
talking
it's-
about, you're not, according to that regulation, you're not issuing violation notices, that clearly says you have the authority
Yeah,
to go in and remove it.
We can do it,
We don't
yeah.
need a motion.
I'm just thinking there might be a way in here to do it.
I think what we'll
Better
do,
than the-
I think
the
what
route
we'll
that
do
we
is
had
this.
taken.
What say we do this? Why don't we pass the motion? Let's pass the motion that we're going to do that. All council staff is going to do is determine under which direction or which piece of the authority we hold that we use to do it. But at least council then knows it has, staff knows it has both the authority and the direction to council to get it done.
So if it doesn't fall under the purview of this violation notice, then at least the motion has been.
Get it done.
We want it out of there, bottom line. How
Yeah.
we do it, find a way,
Yeah.
basically.
I'm going to call a question on that. We're dealing primarily with the amended motion. All those in favor? Very minded, motion is carried. Question would be on the original motion. The original motion now, which was to remove the hedge. Right? The amended motion, we didn't add an amendment, we amended the motion. That's what I'm saying, so it has to die. So it has to die. What's done is done. Okay, thank you. We're still on new business.
I still have two more items.
My lord, the agenda has gotten nuts.
This time it's a fence.
It's a fence?
No, no, actually, I was at Ryan Cleary's office, our new MP, and he gave me some business cards to pass out to the rest of council, and he's on 9 Commonwealth Avenue. I understand he's having an open house later in the week, Thursday night. It's Thursday night, and I'm going to be out, I'm in Labrador, so I'm not going to make the open house, but I did tell him that I would pass on his business cards, and any resident of Mount Pearl that has any issues and needs his help, his office is open every day from 8:30 to 5 apparently, and he's only glad to meet with residents and people, and I'm assuming we can put his information that on our website as well for people if they want to reach him. I think we've done it in the past.
Do we have our MHRs on our website?
I'm not sure. He asked if
I
we
would think our MHAs and our MP would want that.
I think the
I'd do it if they wanted to do it.
Anyway, he asked if he could do that,
links,
and I said I would pass it on. So I have, I have that done. The other
The
thing,
NDP block, is it?
the last thing I have, your worship, I would like for you to send a letter out to Ivan Jones. I was at the press conference today where Ivan formally resigned as leader
Yes.
of the official opposition because of health reasons, and I would like for you to send off a letter. You know, she certainly has been involved and helped. I know I was involved with her with the moose stuff, and she had brought a lot of stuff forward on our behalf, and I'm sure she's going to be missed.
All right, we will certainly do that,
All right.
both personally as well as on behalf of council.
And the last thing I have is there's a public hearing tonight, and I'm going to be leaving shortly after the public meeting, so can somebody pass along my regrets this evening? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And Campia Gymnastics.
Can't be
I'll just, sorry.
No, you're up, Councillor Walsh.
Yeah, the public, I'll mention it now at the beginning, I have it here for later. The public hearing on the proposal from Campia Gymnastics for the development of land opposite the A&W there is proceeding at 7 o'clock this evening. I'll be chairing the session. I think it's going to be a strong contingent of representation.
From residents?
Certainly from Campia, from the proponent. There'll probably be some interest. We received several inquiries, emails for information. There doesn't, in fairness, there doesn't appear to be the same level of I guess, opposition to it as when we were proposing the dog park for that location. I think most of the inquiries are more really about getting information, and so that goes ahead this evening. Skate park, thank you, Councillor Tessier. We will follow up on the helmet use, because I think that's a good suggestion, at least to be considered, and we'll look at that. The Arts in the Park series continues. I just want to remind people there is a strong local flavor, talent, performance. This is done, of course, in conjunction with the Association for the Arts in Mount Pearl. This Thursday evening at dusk as well, there is a movie. We might even get a fine night. There's a movie outside. I'm not guaranteeing it now, but there's a movie outside in the park at dusk this Thursday. If it doesn't go, it will be scheduled for Friday evening, because we never have 2 bad nights in a row, apparently. But we did have 28 rainy days in
Yeah.
in July. I'm just kidding here. Telly 10. I had a conversation with Randy Ball. He wanted to pass along thanks to all of our staff, Public Works, Community Services, anyone who was involved in any way in planning and particularly accommodating the signage. That was primarily our Public Works staff for the permanent signage for the Telly 10. The event was a huge success, and he just wanted to make sure that we got that message back. I know it's a couple of weeks old, but I told him that I'd pass it on. The only other...
We were a major sponsor for the Telly 10. Our signs were, our name, City of Mount Pearl's logo was on everything that they had sent out.
Yes.
I don't know if you were...
No, we've been for years a major sponsor of the Telly 10. The only problem is because it doesn't begin or end in Mount Pearl, unfortunately, we don't get a big bang for the buck in terms of recognition. The mayor of Paradise fires the gun to start the race, and I think some of the officials from St. John's are often at the Bannerman Park location to see the finish of it. We just cheer them on as they sort of run
But
through.
I think though, in fairness, and it got nothing to do with Randy Ball and that, but I really think that we should have been invited to be in Paradise and be down there and be on stage as a major sponsor. We put a lot of money into the Telly 10. We have our staff out there. I mentioned it in a committee meeting there. I asked, how much does it cost us? Because I don't know. But everything that they sent out, everything that was in the packages, it was there that the City of Mount Pearl was a major sponsor. And if we're a major sponsor to an event, we should be invited to go. And I think that whoever is organising the event, I think a message should be sent to them that if the City of Mount Pearl is going to continue, which I support, continuing to support the Telly 10, because I think is a great event, because they had well over 3,000 people participate this year. But I think if we're a major sponsor and putting a lot of money into it, and apparently we put a lot more money into it than St. John's do, that we should be considered as a guest to be there on stage.
Worship, or Councillor Walsh, because you were raised until, can I comment on that?
Is the chair?
I'm looking at you.
No, were you commenting on that, or was the next issue?
I was going to comment on that. That's fine.
Oh, okay.
He'll follow you.
All right, okay. Your Worship, I would just like for the next meeting, based on like this, what Councillor Stoyles is saying is news to me, to be quite honest with you. I'm certainly support the concept of the Telly 10. I know it's really taken off and so on. My understanding, though, is that for the perspective of the City of Mount Pearl, we support it in terms of we'll put up some barricades and things, and we may have municipal enforcement.
We don't put any money in it.
No.
Yeah, and that's my question. I guess that's my question on what I would like to know.
We put value.
I certainly
There's-
never
there's-
voted
there's-
on spending.
No, there's,
I
there's a tremendous value to what we do for the Telly 10,
Yes.
which awards us some sponsorship of it and being
Yes.
attached to it. But no, we don't cut a cash check here.
Okay. No, and I want to clarify, unless there's something I'm missing, because the impression I've just given is that somehow
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
pumping all
No,
this
no,
money
it's-
into the
it's-
Telly
it's-
10, and it's certainly
It's real.
news to
It's
me.
it's
I
real
never
value,
voted for that.
but
There's real value because we pay our staff overtime to come in and do it on a Sunday.
yeah,
So it is real value. It costs money.
yeah.
Okay. Well,
But it's not a check. I agree.
Okay, I would though, just maybe, Ms. Peach, if we could just quantify that maybe at some point as to exactly what it is we're putting into it, because from my perspective, we're putting in a few resources, but it was no,
And that is
huge-
correct. That is correct.
It's probably referred to as in-kind contributions,
That's
but
right.
they have real value. in
Sure,
terms of
I understand
staff.
that.
There are hard costs,
I understand
but
that.
it is an in-kind contribution.
Yeah.
Just to comment further, the cities. First of all, there's no stage at either the finish line or the starting line. I haven't been there the last few years, but when I was young enough and fit enough to run the Telly 10, I did for a number of years. There wasn't then, and I still don't think there is. There's a little bit of hoopla at the end, but there's a reception the night before at the registration piece. But even there, I don't think that there's major municipal representation. It's run by the Provincial Track and Field Association. It's there. It actually is an event that's successful enough now that apparently this event covers the cost of their entire year's programming, for staff costs and things like that. So it's a pretty big event. But I'm not sure that, I certainly hear what you're saying, but I don't think any of the municipalities have major representation or involvement at the actual events or at the the registration reception, which is usually the night
And
or two
somebody you're
before.
telling me Ralph Wiseman had a gun.
Well, yeah, that's his pictures have been in the paper the last few years, starting the race.
Fire
But,
in the
that's
race.
fine.
That's
It's in
all right.
paradise, and it's a bit of fun.
I'm just making fun of Ralph.
Anyway,
Can you
I
imagine they
guess
gave
we'll
Ralph
make
a
a
gun?
we'll make a note of it. We'll make a note of it, and we'll take it from there. The last thing I'll mention, and again, it's for Mr. Lush. I had a couple of complaints. One complaint directly about coming up Park Avenue. A lady was driving a brand new vehicle, just 2 weeks old, turned left onto Smallwood Drive, and there was signage on Smallwood Drive, that wet tar, but there was no signage on Park Avenue saying it was wet tar. And when she was onto the street, she was into the wet tar, and it got on the. Now they called me and emailed me and asked. I said, this is the contractor. Obviously, you need to go to the contractor, copy me on the email correspondence. But it would be nice if they were able to take care of it. But a couple of people have mentioned, in fact, Your Worship, at least you and I think Councillor Tessier got an email from Gord Ash asking about the intersection of Old Placentia and Smallwood Drive Extension, and I was glad to be able to tell him that is planned to be redone, because that is in hard shape. But this time of the year, no matter where you go, and it's not unique to Mount Pearl at all, throughout the entire region. Last week I was down through Torbay and coming back in the evening, same thing. Mr. Lush, there are no requirements for any lights at all on these construction sites. And again, it's not something just in Mount Pearl, but it's everywhere. But you're on these barricades. There's no lights. I remember as a child, they used to have these actual fire things, that they would light. No, I'm
Used
that
to have
old.
the pots, yeah.
I'm that old. But I mean, at least it was lighting there. Now you're on these things, and there's.
Orange flashing
Well,
lights.
sometimes they have, but they're not there all the time, and they're not in all of our areas either. What is the requirement for that, Mr. Lush?
I really don't know. I'll have to do some research on it. I know what you're speaking about. I think the street light takes away from the requirement is what I think, but I couldn't say offhand.
Well, maybe we could check, because I'm only worried primarily about our construction in our city, but really the same applies to construction throughout the entire region. It's really dark, and if you travel anywhere else in the country, or particularly south of the border, I'll tell you, if you have construction in the nighttime, it's lit up like you wouldn't believe. It's so visible, and you come on construction areas here in this city or in the region, and at night you can hardly see the barricades. It's dangerous, and I have seen these cones with the flashing lights on top, but they're in less than 50% of the areas
They're
that
far
I
and few
drive on.
between, yeah.
They really are.
Okay.
Can I
I
make-
just wanted to raise that point.
Can I make
Thank
a
you very
comment,
much.
Your Worship?
Any final comment on this?
Yep.
Councillor Tessier.
We talked, I think it might have been last year, about using reflective paint of some sort on raised manholes as well. Did we not have that discussion? We did, because that's not being done either.
No, because all the contracts, there's no new contracts.
They'd already been done. They'd
No,
already been
There's
done.
no new ones, so the new ones will be incorporated.
Okay, so that
Those
will
are
be,
carriers, yeah, but it is on.
that will be in future contracts within the
reflective-
city.
Just reflective 3M tape on the rims.
Perfect.
But the reason why is because the contracts you see are carryovers from.
Yeah, I actually noticed it when I went up Wyatt Boulevard as well, not Wyatt, up
And also
Mount
Smallwood
Carson.
Drive.
Yes, I noticed it and I thought, gee whiz, at night that's going to be tangly.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. I have one item, well, really, I suppose I have this public service announcement here, which involves the Munich Youth Choir. They're on their Saltwater Joy Summer Tour program. They are going to be performing here in Mount Pearl, and I'd love to see a contingent of council, if they can, come out for lunch. It's 12:30 to 1. It's going to be happening on Thursday, August the 18th, just for a half an hour. So they're going to do it here at the gazebo. They're going to do the thing.
Many of senior staff, and I know myself and Councillor Aker is around, we have a regional fire meeting at that time. Regional
Have it
water,
here.
Regional water.
Have it
That'd
here.
be nice.
Have it here.
That might be possible.
Anyway, they're going to be here for that half an hour. They're going to be doing some stuff right across the province. Just a notice on that, and to let council know you've been hearing, I have no doubt, particularly since yesterday, and I haven't had the opportunity to meet with council or to brief you on the status of the para-transit program. There is a new operator coming into town. The Wheelway organization, their contract will expire by the end of the year. MV Transport, which is an international firm, that deals with paratransit in a number of major cities in the world, will be the new operator for a number of years in this region. They're going to be adding new buses, new facilities, new booking arrangements. The new computer system that we all were a part of and talked about is in place, up and running and operating. It is interesting to note that from the first reports, the number of riders of paratransit from Mount Pearl is significant. It's more than I think any of us ever thought. I think council is.
More money.
It's going to. I'm about to say. So I'm serving notice to council that you do recognize that what we said was that based upon these numbers, we would determine at the end of the year what our budgetary commitment would be to paratransit. We've been giving them, I think, about $50,000. It's going to be. I think we all had better be prepared for the reality that it will be more than that. But again, the early numbers that I've received, and Mr. Lush is aware of it as well, the level of take-up and use from Mount Pearl is quite significant. It really is. That's right. For the longest time, we were just giving them 10. But just to let you know, and I want residents and everybody to know that while the City of St. John's is operating this facility and so on, there is a committee made up of the funders, of which the City of Mount Pearl is one of 3. And we participated in those meetings, and we participated in doing the entire matrix. I'm looking for the right word here, Scott. That we analyzed all the aspects and chose the group to be awarded. Mount Pearl was a part of that, and the actual award itself has now been done. So you need to be aware of that. Soon, there will be some new-looking buses running around Mount Pearl that are primarily and specifically designated for the use of physically disabled people in our city. And I think that's really a good news story in its own way. That's all the news I've got for today. On that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. It is moved by Councillor Walsh. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.